Sports Talk Chicago with Joey Christopoulos is brought to you by...
Injured in an accident? That's no game. But you can bet those insurance companies are going to play dirty to keep that cash from you. What you need is a most valuable player on your team. MVP Injury Law has been bringing home the gold for their clients for over 30 years. No win, no fee. MVPInjuryLaw.com. We'll get you the gold.
312-883-9500 MVP.
MVPInjuryLaw.com. We'll get you the gold.
Welcome to Sports Talk Chicago. And now, with your host, Joey Christopoulos.
Hello, Chicago. Happy Saturday. It's Sports Talk Chicago with Joey Christopoulos right here on WLS AM 890. In this week's episode, my preview of the Bears-Packers game, the final game of the season. We're also going to cover all the news and notes going on with the Bears' current head coach search. And also, I'm going to talk about which Chicago sports team is going to stand up and make themselves a winner in 2025. Someone's got to do it, right? Right? Let's find out in this week's episode. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode, Chicago. I hope you had a wonderful holiday. Hope you had a great new year. It's 2025. Every time I say it, it sounds more futuristic. Little did I know, growing up, I'm about to turn 41 years old at 2025. I mean, that's sci-fi number stuff right there. So 2025, and yet the conversation with the Chicago Bears feels like the same that it was in 2000, 2008, 2015, 2025. New head coach search, heading towards another season without the playoffs. A lot of questions, more questions than answers. And of course, the Chicago Bears looking for a new head coach. A couple things, though, about what's going on with the Chicago Bears, and then I want to get into all the rumors and innuendo. We're going to get into a little gossip corner here with what's going on with the Bears head coaching search. But a couple things I just wanted to point out. A lot of people on socials have been asking me what I want to see from the Chicago Bears as they play the Green Bay Packers in the final week of the season. For those of you that turned in the past, thank you so much for supporting. On past shows, I have said I've had a little bit of a rookie checklist that I've wanted to see from Caleb Williams. Now, if you're tuning in for the first time, look, I'm a person that has said from the beginning that there were going to be peaks and valleys with Caleb Williams. There was going to be ups and downs. It was going to be a roller coaster. Some weeks we're going to feel really good. Other weeks we're going to be scratching our head. And I can see already right now in the YouTube comments, people dropping in different stats. One of them saying that Caleb was good. Some stats that say Caleb is bad. I got news for you guys. That's pretty much the path of the rookie quarterback. It is an outlier to know in one's rookie season that a quarterback is already a franchise quarterback. People had a pretty good idea about Joe Burrow, right? But tore his knee up. Didn't even finish the season. Injury was a concern there. People felt pretty good about Peyton Manning. Well, guess what? He led the league in interceptions, and they didn't win a lot of games. Guys were thrust into different situations. Tom Brady was not a rookie when he started playing with the New England Patriots, and he was thrust in because of an injury. They had a great team in place. Ben Roethlisberger, similar situation, great defense in place. Russell Wilson was not asked a lot of him because the defense was so good. One of the true outliers in this is Pat Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes was amazing from the get-go. And I hate to break it to you, I don't know if we're going to see a lot of Patrick Mahomes type players come into the league in the next 5 or 10 years, if at all. He might be a one-on-one. He might be a unicorn. So I get it that you want to make these comparisons and you want to place them against Caleb Williams, but I just personally think that they're unfair. Now, when we talk about the checklist, one of the checklists that I had was I was hoping that Caleb Williams would win a division game on the road. I just thought it was important, regardless of the win-loss record, something that he can pull upon in future years. And let's get as many monkeys off the back as we possibly can with rookie quarterbacks in terms of, well, he's never done this, he's never done that. The Kirk Cousins, he never wins on Monday Night Football. Let's try and check some of these boxes so we don't even have to have these kind of narrative type conversations. Well, he hasn't won a game on the road yet this year against the division. They've lost 10 in a row. They've tied a franchise record for most losses in a regular season. They've also lost 14 in a row in a different iteration with Matt Eberflus and Brian Poles that spanned over 2 seasons. So this is where we're at on that conversation. But winning a division game on the road, I thought it would be important. Beating the Green Bay Packers. Always. Chicago Bears fan. For life. Cut me open, I bleed bear blood. I thought that would be important as well. And yet here we are, Week 18, final game of the season. And what do I want to see from the Packers and Bears game? I want to see Caleb not get hurt. That's it. That's all I care about. And in fact, I can extend that to some other key pieces on this Bears team that I hope come back next year, play a little bit better, and contribute and can possibly become a core foundation of what could be a successful football team one day. So yeah, I want to see Montez Sweat get out of the game uninjured. I want to see Jalen Johnson come out of this game unscathed. I want to see health for DJ Moore, Roma Dunze, Darnell Wright, Kyler Gordon. And heck, I'll even throw in DeAndre Swift and Roschon Johnson while we're at it. That's really all I'm looking for here, people. I've been doing score predictions all year, and I got to tell you, I've been doing this for about 5 years now, and I've been very grateful to do it. And I don't think I've ever picked the Bears to beat the Packers once. Because let's be honest, at this point now, we're toying with ourselves. Until the Chicago Bears show us that they can beat the Green Bay Packers, the Green Bay Packers are going to beat the Chicago Bears. That's just where I'm landing on that. I'm sorry it's not nuanced or analytical. But when one team dominates another team so fiercely, at some point you have to say to yourself, show me before I start going out there believing that you're going to pull something off. And that is the Chicago Bears beating Green Bay Packers. I'm just not buying into it. But in general, I want Caleb to be healthy. I think if something were to happen to him in this Week 18 game, it would be not just devastating for the franchise, but malpractice on so many different levels. It'd really make you scratch your head. So that's really what I'm hoping for. Another news and note with Caleb Williams this week is I've also seen a lot of back and forth in terms of, people are starting to stake their claim on whether Caleb is good or not. And again, I'm going to give him at least 30 starts. I think this season has been a disaster. I think he's been at times complicit in aiding in that disaster from a lot of different perspectives. A lot of them I think are correctable. And some of them that are correctable, sometimes these quarterbacks, they simply don't correct them. And they turn into bad habits. And my fear, my worry is hopefully the Chicago Bears haven't ruined Caleb Williams and some of those bad habits turn into something that turns into a consistent problem with him moving forward in his career. We're going to have to find out. We don't know. The one thing I did like to see was a lot of stuff going on about Bears fans talking about the amount of sacks that Caleb Williams has taken. I believe this time right now he's 8 short of 76. I repeat, 76 sacks on the season, which would tie an NFL record. That NFL record went to David Carr. Oh, yeah, another number 1 pick that walked into a situation with poor ownership, bad offensive line, got his head kicked in for a year, never recovered, and we'll never know whether David Carr had the talent to become a solid quarterback in this league, but all we do know is that he didn't. He flamed out. This was Derek Carr's older brother. This was something like 25 years ago. So Caleb's about 8 short of that record. And now this is fodder or a conversation piece for a lot of Bears fans to get in there and actually break down what percentage of the sacks are Caleb's fault, what percentage of the sacks are the offensive line's fault, what percentage of the sacks are some of the Shane Waldron offensive scheme issues that this Bears team has clearly had. I mean, they fired their offensive coordinator in his first year, 2 months into the season. So I know you want to give Caleb a hard time, but that in itself is unprecedented. 2 weeks later, they fired the head coach. There's a lot going on at Hallis Hall. There's a lot of change. And if you want to say it didn't affect the rookie quarterback, that's fine. But, I mean, we all have to acknowledge the facts, and the facts are that the offensive coordinator got fired after 2 months, and the head coach got fired a couple weeks after that. And the rookie quarterbacks had to deal with all of that change all of that time. Whether that leads to good results or not, I'll let you decide. But I think it's been more of a challenge and an obstacle than it has been helping Caleb Williams. And I don't think I'm a genius for saying that. So he's 8 sacks short of 76. And a lot of analytical models are out there saying how many Caleb perhaps ran himself into, how many the percentages. And we can go back and forth on this, and I'll be the first to admit, I think it is factual that, yeah, man, a good portion of these sacks came from the rookie quarterback, whether it's him trying to make a play late in the game because they're losing, him holding on to the football too long trying to make a play downfield instead of just taking what the defense gives him misreading, misdiagnosing plays, and maybe him also. There have been some moments where athletically he has been able to get out of the pocket, but there's also been moments where that athleticism at the NFL level, it isn't quite college, and he's had a hard time, getting around the corner on a couple of guys, and it's led to some sacks. But the part that I like and the part that I'm trying to bring up is that in this past week, Caleb Williams has publicly stated and defended his offensive line, calling it a stupid correlation to say that all of the sacks are on the offensive line. And he took some accountability and some blame that a good portion of them are on him. And I know in Chicago right now we're upset. And I know we're probably not interested in lip service. But I will say it's better than him not saying anything at all. It's better that your rookie quarterback is at least attempting to take a sense of accountability in a season where honestly players have really struggled to take accountability for the problems that have happened with this football season. I mean, Bears fans, we're going to do what we're going to do, right? We're going to blame the offensive coordinator. Some of you are going to want the backup quarterback, and some of you are going to want to fire the head coach. No offense, but those narratives and those opinions, they've been going on for like the past 30 years. These aren't like brand new opinions. So I try and dig a little bit deeper. And I just think he deserves a little bit of credit of standing up there in front of a microphone and taking some accountability and saying, yeah, a good portion of these sacks are on me. And maybe don't put all of this on the offensive line. And we can have that discussion of what's the chicken and the egg here, right? Does bad offensive line turn into bad decision making? Because you don't fully trust your offensive line? Are you trying to maybe see things a little bit differently? Is it maybe getting you out of your rhythm and your comfort zone where maybe you are taking some more sacks? It's tough to say, but I'm glad that he stood up and took that accountability. And there are also numbers out there too as well that actually show how ineffective Caleb Williams was when he didn't have his offensive tackles out there on the field, Braxton Jones or Darnell Wright. Darnell Wright's been a little banged up this year, but honestly, Darnell Wright's had a solid season. And for me personally, I think you probably need 4 upgrades among the 5 offensive linemen on your team right now. And I think Darnell Wright's the one that you keep. And there are numbers out there that when Braxton Jones, Darnell Wright are not on the field, Caleb has struggled. They have not been able to find an answer or backups at the offensive tackle position that can at least play league average football. When the offensive tackles have been out there, his interception rate is good. His passing yards per game is on par. Trust me, it's on par with some of the other rookie quarterbacks right now with Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix. So it's the least promising that you could say to yourself, look, Darnell Wright, we can move forward with this guy. We're getting close to at least saying, hey, this is a good draft pick from Ryan Poles. Because let's be honest, he hasn't had many. And his thought process in trying to build the depth on this offensive line has been atrocious. And this is a guy in training camp who said this is the best depth he's ever seen on the offensive line. It's going to be really hard to make this team because of all the talent on the offensive line. I mean, I don't know if that's a PR sell or I don't know if that's arrogance personified. Because if he deep down in his bones really believed that, then we have a talent evaluation problem with general manager. And it's going to be really interesting to see whether he's willing to look in the mirror and say to himself, hey, I need to redo this whole thing, and I have to think about this differently. I need to prioritize it in a different way. And that might mean draft capital. That might mean free agent dollars. I don't think that means trade. It's really hard to trade for offensive linemen in the NFL. People just don't want to do it. But it's going to have to be a mixture of acquiring top-end potential, top-end certified talent from the free agent area, and then also trying to find the depth and actually hit on those depth picks later on in the draft. Nate Davis was known as a rotating, ascending player in Tennessee who got an opportunity, put on some good tape, and made himself $30 million. We need a little bit more than that. A little bit more of that than that what we think that potential could possibly be. It's pretty simple. But for the time being, I'm appreciating what Caleb Williams is at least trying to do, walk out of the season on a good foot. Because it's going to be really hard, and it's going to be an off season of a lot of uncertainty around here. And let's just have that conversation, right? The one thing that really bums me out is when I talk to Bears fans and they just cling only to the win-loss record, like they don't actually watch the games. Look at Bo Nix. They're going to the playoffs. Look at Jaden Daniels going to the playoffs. Whatever suits your narrative, you'll try and fit it in. And for me, we're going to look back on this season as one of the bigger disasters. I don't think there's as many what-ifs as perhaps there maybe were last year with this football team, but that's been basically the Matt Eberflus era. It's been disasters, slow starts, what-ifs, just bad football. And a lot of people are going to try and attach this record to Caleb Williams. And I am going insane because literally I'm saying the same thing that I said about the last quarterback in this town is the Chicago Bears have to be really, really, really careful. Caleb Williams, with casual football fans, are going to look at the win-loss record, and it's going to stick to him. And it's going to attach to him. And let's be honest, it's going to take him probably 2 years just to get back to 500. And in a season when you start the year 4-2, in a season when you see the team lose a game by a Hail Mary, when you see a team lose a game because the coach can't manage his timeouts, when you see a team try and kick a field goal when they have an extra down to get a little bit closer, when you see a team, and especially when you see a defense at times looking like they just showed up and got a participation trophy, I think we can point to a lot of different things throughout the course of this season as to why this Bears team went sideways. And I'm just not going to put all of this on the rookie quarterback. I'm just not going to do it. He deserves some of the blame because guess what? He was going to be a rookie quarterback. If you think that every single week a rookie quarterback was going to be the reason that you win and win only, you just got to watch more football. You know, Caleb Williams was going to lose you games this year. Caleb Williams was also, in theory, going to win you games this year. And there were going to be games, especially early on in the year, when he was a passenger or a small byproduct of the victory and not necessarily the reason of. And that's what you're going to get. You're going to get mixed results with the rookie quarterback season. I'm still going to give this guy 30 starts. I just am. Sorry if that's my arbitrary number. But you need a certain amount of reps and experience, and I definitely need to see this quarterback outside of the stink of this season. before I'm just going to sit here and say he's yay or nay. I'm not guaranteeing you that he's going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback. But I'm also pretty confident that at this point right now, he isn't the bust a lot of people are saying that he's going to be. And heading into this offseason, it is going to be tough because they are going to look at this win-loss record, and a lot of people are going to attach it to him and call him a loser, a guy who can't win games. You know who else can't win games? George McCaskey. You know who else can't win games to this point? General Manager Ryan Poles. With factual evidence that preceded our rookie quarterback. You know who else has a hard time winning games? Our dearly departed head coach, Matt Eberflus. You know who had a hard time contributing to winning games this year? Our offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron, who we fired after 2 months. There's a lot going on with this Bears team. And in the other side of this break, I am going to talk a little bit about the rumors, innuendo, and gossip that is going on with the head coaching search with the Chicago Bears. Because, again, this is a pivotal offseason. And before we go to break, I'm going to put it like this. And look, you could not be a fan of Caleb Williams. You could be skeptical. You could be frustrated, too, as well. Where maybe you only get an opportunity, you work hard all week long, and on Sundays you try and watch some football and just enjoy it with your family, and all you've heard about is this special talent coming out of USC, this number one pick, this surefire talent who's supposed to finally slay the dragon of Bears quarterback problems in this city for as long as I've been alive. And it's been a frustrating experience. And now maybe you're wavering a little bit on your optimism. I'm telling you, my optimism has changed since September. My optimism has changed since London, when we were 4-2. Keep in mind, in that Washington game, Caleb Williams put together a really professional and impressive drive that put the Chicago Bears up in that game. The only reason why the Hail Mary even happens, or the Fail Mary even happens, is because Caleb Williams leads a drive down the field to put them ahead. Granted, offense was terrible for 3 quarters, but when it matters most, when it's time to win games, this is what matters, right? You can't pick and parcel, well, he's not a winning quarterback. And then when I say he probably won you the Washington game, and then you go, well, in the 3 quarters, are you detail-oriented? Or are you macro, you micro on this? You got to pick a lane on that one, people. But here's what Caleb Williams has done, and whether you like him or not, hopefully just the concept of a Caleb Williams type player is hopefully something that works out in the favor for the Chicago Bears. And it is this. Because Caleb Williams is the number 1 pick in the draft, because Caleb Williams, by many scouts and many evaluators, says he has all this immense talent. And let's be honest, he has perhaps easily top 2, top 3 talent the Chicago Bears have ever seen playing quarterback for their team. The good thing about it is, in my opinion, is that Caleb Williams has somehow been able to shine a light on all these different crevices and corners throughout Hallis Hall this season. Where, yes, we've talked about them before, but I think the casual fan is more aware of them than he ever has been in his life. Or her life, excuse me. Because Caleb Williams has this talent, because he's the number 1 pick, because the Chicago Bears are so invested in making him work, to make him the next franchise quarterback, to maybe possibly win a Super Bowl with a quarterback that can actually throw the ball. Because of that pressure and that expectation, and because it has not been met this year, the Caleb Williams factor is actually shining a light on all these different areas in Hallis Hall. I mean, people that really dive into it, I've talked about ownership problems with Bears fans for years, but I feel like casual Bears fans are more familiar and more angry at the ownership structure and honestly some of the BS that they've been shoveling into Bears fans' paths the last few years, I feel like that we're more attuned to it than ever. I feel like it's shined a light on, well, hey, wait a second. Something I've been saying for a while. Is General Manager Ryan Poles good? Let's really evaluate and look at those moves. All those people with those memes saying King Poles does it again. Everyone just looking at the Carolina trade and automatically saying, well, that must make Ryan Poles a good general manager. Everyone's now looking and canvassing over the cross tenure of his time here in Chicago and asking themselves, is he actually good? This defense, is it actually elite? This offensive line, was it ever good to begin with? This offensive coordinator, he's not any good. Get him out of town. This head coach, he's not any good. Let's get him out of town. The Caleb Williams factor and the pressure to have them be successful with this particular rookie quarterback who's taken number 1 overall has made the Chicago Bears do things that they've never done in franchise history. Firing an offensive coordinator midseason, firing a head coach in the middle of a season, something that they've never done. They did this year, and you could say a lot of that is Matt Eberflus, but some of that is the Caleb Williams factor because they have to try and figure out a way to make Caleb Williams work. There is so much incentive to make Caleb Williams a successful quarterback in this league that it is shining a light on all these different areas in Hallis Hall that have been under the shadows, that have been things that diehard, nitty-gritty Bears fans talk about, but maybe the casual Bears fan doesn't care about or think about when you go, hey, if the owner is bad, why do the players have to be bad on the field? And when we talk about culture and principle and attitude, it can matriculate all the way down. And dysfunction can reign and can bleed out into other areas of an organization. And because Caleb Williams is the number 1 pick, because the Chicago Bears, and honestly, Chicago Bears fans, we need this pick to work. It has shined a light on a lot of different areas that have long needed attending to at Hallis Hall. Now, in a year or two, there will come a time when results and production are going to shine their light upon Caleb Williams, and he's going to have to perform. But for now, I'm looking for positives here. But because the Bears are so incentivized to get Caleb Williams right, it's given a lot of their shortcomings an opportunity to get out there in the open air, and people are finally starting to see just how broken and dysfunctional the Chicago Bears organization is at this particular time. We're going to take a break here on Sports Talk Chicago with Joey Christopoulos. You're listening to WLS AM 890. It's Saturday night, people, so come on back. We're talking more Chicago Bears right here on Sports Talk Chicago.
Injured in an accident? That's no game. But you can bet those insurance companies are going to play dirty to keep that cash from you. What you need is a most valuable player on your team. MVP Injury Law has been bringing home the gold for their clients for over 30 years. No win, no fee. MVPinjurylaw.com. We'll get you the gold.
312-883-9500 MVP.
MVPinjurylaw.com. We'll get you the gold.
Sports Talk Chicago with Joey Christopoulos is brought to you by...
Injured in an accident? That's no game. But you can bet those insurance companies are going to play dirty to keep that cash from you. What you need is a most valuable player on your team. MVP Injury Law has been bringing home the gold for their clients for over 30 years. No win, no fee. MVPinjurylaw.com. We'll get you the gold.
312-883-9500 MVP.
MVPinjurylaw.com. We'll get you the gold.
Welcome to Sports Talk Chicago. And now, with your host, Joey Christopoulos.
Coming back here on Sports Talk Chicago, right here on WLS AM 890. I'm Joey Christopoulos. I hope you're having a wonderful Saturday night, Chicago. If you want to follow us on socials, follow us at Sports Talk Chi, or follow me at Joey Sports Guy. Appreciate you taking the time to listen here on a Saturday night. Happy 2025. We're talking Chicago Bears here on the episode, so I want to dive into some of the head coaching search rumors, gossip, innuendo that's been going on the last couple of weeks. And look, before I do this, I want to preface it by saying I'm just going to kind of give you the whispers of what I'm hearing and what I'm reading and what I'm seeing, and then, of course, what I'm thinking. please keep in mind that at this time, 2025, the playoffs are about to start. We have to keep in mind here with a lot of these head coaching rumors that you're going to hear, a lot of them are going to be agent driven. This is the perfect prime time for agents to leverage their client's position to get the best deal for their client. So you're going to hear a lot of different stuff. You're going to hear from one person. We're going to start with Ben Johnson, the offensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions. The hot one, if you will. If you watch Eating a Hot Wing, he's the hottest hot wing right now of all the coaching candidates out there. And you're going to read one outlet saying, well, Ben Johnson doesn't want Chicago. You're going to read another one that says Ben Johnson wants Chicago. You're going to read another one that says Ben Johnson wants Chicago, but if. There's going to be a lot of that stuff going on the next couple of weeks. So I just want to catch you up with some of the gossip going on. You can make kind of your own conclusions. And we're going to weigh some of these options as they stand right now. So the first one, let's stay with them. The hot one, Ben Johnson. The easy pros for this one, offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions last 3 years, completely resurrected Jared Goff's career, a former number one pick himself. Jared Goff went to a Super Bowl, enjoyed great success with Sean McVay, then regressed, came to Detroit a bit of a broken man, if you will. And Ben Johnson and him have made sweet, sweet music together. The Detroit Lions have scored over 500 points this year, shattering their franchise record for points scored in a season. Can I interest you in that, Bears fans? The offensive numbers have been incredible. The play calls have been creative. They've been one step ahead. And a lot of people believe that he is the slam dunk choice and candidate for the Chicago Bears. Now, let's get into some of the complications here. The cons are obvious. Never been a head coach before. Only offensive coordinator. Offensive coordinator on a team where whether he is an alpha or whatever, he is the beta on that team because everyone knows that Dan Campbell runs that show over there. They go for fourth down every single time, no matter the situation, with that aggression and that attitude because of the attitude implemented by Dan Campbell. There's nobody mistaking in that Detroit Lions room who's in charge over there. Does that sound familiar? Because it wasn't more than 6 years ago, they gave Matt Nagy a job, who was coming over from Kansas City under Andy Reid. I don't think anyone will mistake that Andy Reid is the alpha in that room. He is the unquestioned leader. And I can see it right now in the comments. It's very true. Different situations in this regard. Matt Nagy was the offensive coordinator in name for maybe 6 or 7 games. And let's be honest, Andy Reid probably had a hand in several play calls along the way. Matt Nagy also had a really bad offensive coordinator game play call, in a playoff game that got the Kansas City Chiefs kicked out with Alex Smith before they turned over to Patrick Mahomes. Ben Johnson's been doing it for 3 years. Ben Johnson also was in charge of calling the Lions' second half against the 49ers last year when they completely blew the lead. So we can go back and forth on this as much as we want. But Ben Johnson has a lot of hallmarks of things that have been attractive to the Chicago Bears before. A guy who's never done it before, young, offensive genius. And it does make sense that you want to pair an offensive coordinator and one that's had so much success over the last 2 or 3 years with your quarterback and hope that you can rock and ride. The complication in this, right, is there are conflicting reports whether Ben Johnson can work with Ryan Poles or whether he'd want to bring in his own guy. And there's also reports out there that the Chicago Bears have to sell themselves to Ben Johnson, not the other way around. And that concerns me deeply. And I understand that the Chicago Bears are so dysfunctional right now that nobody believes in their ownership. In fact, I think many people in NFL circles, in the public and people in the game, actively laugh at the McCaskey family and at ownership and the ineptitude of the football team. So some of these agents are seeing that as an opportunity to take advantage of the Chicago Bears, where the Chicago Bears have to sell themselves to Ben Johnson instead of the other way around, trying to figure out why can't Ben Johnson sell himself to the Chicago Bears? Why can't Ben Johnson explain to us how he's going to develop Caleb Williams, why he'd be a perfect fit, how he's going to get this team to play with more discipline, how he's going to figure out a way to instill into the defensive line in training camp not to jump offside on every single opportunity when it's 3rd, 5, and less to give the other team a first down. How many times has that happened this year, Chicago Bears fans? A lot. Way too many. So we're in a precarious place. And we're also in a position, too, as well, where I think a lot of people know that the Chicago Bears are incredibly desperate. So Ben Johnson now can leverage his position against Jacksonville, against the Raiders, against all these other teams to make sure that he gets the deal that he wants, as in the number of dollars, the number of years, and the number of control. And I'll admit, I am intrigued by Ben Johnson, but I am wildly skeptical about all of this. You're giving a lot of power to a guy that's just simply never done it before. It is more than calling plays on offense and scoring touchdowns in the NFL to win. It's about defense. It's about special teams. It's about making sure you don't make dumb mistakes in the most important moments of games. And it's about doing the right things at the right time to ensure that you're winning games. So there's rumors out there that also Ben Johnson and Ryan Poles, can they be able to coexist? And we've been here before, Bears fans. No synergy, no lockstep. We never have a general manager, a head coach, and a quarterback all hired at the same time. All self-chosen by each other so that they're tethered in lockstep, ready to move forward. Ryan Poles and Matt Eberflus thought they were getting that with Caleb Williams. Well, guess what? Matt Eberflus is not a good head coach. Got fired. Now Ryan Poles has 1 year left on his deal. Does he really deserve an extension? And if you're going to give a new head coach 4 or 5 years, are you going to line Ryan Poles up with that? Or is Ryan Poles always going to be trying to continuously keep his job, which puts him in perhaps another precarious position, much like Ryan Pace, where he's using the credit card to make sure that he's overspending on guys like Robert Quinn, to make sure that he sticks around, to raise the floor but not reach for the ceiling. We're in danger of repeating the same mistakes of the past. And I do think Ben Johnson has a lot of talent, but I'm very skeptical about whether the Chicago Bears and Ben Johnson can all put this into place, find some synergy on the same page, and get this done. Personally, I think they need to probably fire Ryan Poles either way. You need to match up the general manager with the head coach. Ryan Poles, unfortunately, has not engendered enough confidence in his ability to diagnose talent in the draft. His free agent acquisitions have either been overpays or simply haven't worked out. He trades away picks too foolishly to grab guys like Ryan Bates, Chase Claypool. And he just hasn't put enough impact players onto this team. It's year 3. You want to build this thing incrementally? That's fine. We've been as patient as we could. But at this point now, where are the impact players that he has drafted? Hopefully they're going to be Caleb Williams and Roman Dunze, but in the last 3 years, they just simply don't exist. So I'm sorry. I mean, I'm going to obviously root for the Chicago Bears if they hire Ben Johnson, but I am going to be skeptical. Frankly, I'm going to be skeptical of all these moves. But the next two on this list actually will make me feel a little bit safer moving forward. There's a new guy who entered the chat over Christmas break. Pete Carroll, cough, cough, his agent, said that Pete Carroll's interested in getting back into the NFL and that the Chicago Bears would be of interest to Pete Carroll. Now, what would you be getting from him? Now, great, I get it. Everyone's going to go, he's 73 years old. If you want to use that as your calling card to say why Pete Carroll shouldn't get the job, I think you are disqualified because I don't think that you watch enough football. I mean, he's the most spry, insane 73-year-old I've ever seen in my life. I think the dude could do a roundhouse right now. I mean, this guy is all energy, all passion, all the time. Positives about Pete Carroll, right? He would be a breath of fresh air, 100%. I think he would bring an energy and passion and enthusiasm that I think this team desperately needs. And do I think that as a long-term fix, it would be something that would work out in Chicago? I'm not so sure. I'm going to be skeptical of all these moves, but I do think at least for one season to get this organization back on track, I think Pete Carroll would not be a bad hire. Guy's been to several Super Bowls. The guy immediately, when you talk about some of the issues, the smaller stuff with this football team, players on too many podcasts, talking probably a little bit too much without enough production. Penalties, issues, the Tyreek Stevenson situation, not knowing where you are, timeouts, strong starts, fast starts to games. I think all this stuff gets cleaned up immediately with Pete Carroll. And I know this is little detailed stuff that probably a lot of Bears fans don't care about, but I promise you all these little things add up to what I think would be a more successful product if Pete Carroll came in. The other one, too, that I would be optimistic about is that I think Pete Carroll immediately would have a good connection with Caleb Williams. They have the USC connection from the past. And I think Pete Carroll does an excellent job, as he did with Russell Wilson, with empowering young quarterbacks to play their game. He's not a quarterback whisperer, but he knows how to have success with a young quarterback. He knows how to build around it to maybe take some of the pressure off of the kid. Because keep in mind, right, if Ben Johnson becomes the head coach of the Chicago Bears, that puts even more pressure on our young quarterback to be as good as fast as possible. And I know all you Caleb detractors are licking your chops at that. But Pete Carroll, I think, would be able to bring him along a little bit more at a steady pace and turn this into more about winning than it is about stats. I think a lot of people that think Ben Johnson is the solution to this are just focused on stats. Caleb's going to get 4,000 yards. We're going to score 35 points a game. He's going to throw X touchdowns. We're going to run this play, that play. Okay, that's all well and good. But again, that was the Mark Trestman formula. If you want to go back to losing 38-35, we could do that. That's no problem. We did it all the time with Mark Trestman. That is a little bit of my fear with Ben Johnson. Pete Carroll will bring more of a comprehensive style to the forefront. And I don't think it's a bad move. Is it my favorite pick? No. And if the Chicago Bears don't talk to him, I think that's a huge problem. Because who are we as the Chicago Bears to not talk to anybody? We should be talking to everyone under the sun to learn as much as we can. And Pete Carroll certainly is on that list. The other unknowns that, look, we're going to hear about, and if one of these guys gets the job, I'm probably going to lose my mind. Aaron Glenn, defensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions. Liam Cohen, the offensive coordinator of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who actually interviewed for the job last year as offensive coordinator for the Bears, didn't get the gig. And then Todd Monken, offensive coordinator for the Baltimore Ravens. These guys could be incredibly talented. They might make great head coaches someday. I just think timing-wise for the Chicago Bears, it should not even be a whiff of a conversation. If they talk themselves into Aaron Glenn somehow, I really don't know what to tell you, Bears fans, moving forward, because it would be literally selling the same product that they just sold you with Matt Eberflus. And I just don't think that's what this team needs right now. It definitely will not sell very well from a PR perspective, and I just simply won't do it. I just wouldn't do it. Stay away from it at all costs. And then the final one before we get out of here is he's still my number one choice, guys. And it's Mike Vrabel. I get it. You don't always go out and you get some meatloaf. But damn it, when you have meatloaf, it's pretty dang good. I think he's the obvious choice. And I understand that he hasn't been in the league for a year. And I understand that he was coaching in the AFC South. And a lot of people are like, well, that division was terrible. And on and on and on. Look, Mike Vrabel knows how to win football games in many different forms and in many different fashions. I can't for the life of me understand the city of Chicago not being interested in a guy like Mike Vrabel, a dude who is tough, a guy who's no BS, a guy who literally will probably put up the middle finger to the ownership, kick George out of the locker room, take control of this team, and actually put them on a path and get them a little bit tighter and pulling on the same rope. Dude's had playoff success. Dude's gotten Ryan Tannehill paid. The moment he left, Ryan Tannehill was practically out of a job. And this is the part that Bears fans, and I think football fans, we need to understand and realize too as well. You don't need to be a quarterback whisperer or a quarterback savant to make your quarterback better on the team. What if I told you Mike Vrabel simply knows how to protect the quarterback? What if Mike Vrabel can at least put in a system where he knows his quarterback isn't going to be sacked 68 times and protects the quarterback and maybe lets him do his job? I mean, this guy from day one will bring in culture. He will bring in attitude. And all these little problems and all these things that are frustrating about the Chicago Bears on a week-to-week basis, I think will disappear. We will have a tough football team. And the counter to that, obviously, is, well, look at how Minnesota scores and look at the scoring in Green Bay and look at the scoring with Detroit. Okay, that's fine. You want to get into an arms race with that? I totally understand that mentality to get in that kind of track meet. But again, the Lions are a tough football team. The Minnesota Vikings on defense with Brian Flores, another candidate for the job possibly, they're a tough football team. The Chicago Bears play outdoors. And I for the life of me, I understand the seduction and allure to want to finally have a Chicago Bears team that just scores points and it's fireworks all the time and it's fantasy football forever and we're high-fiving because they're always in the end zone. I understand that mentality. But at the same time, in that same breath, I think the Chicago Bears team just needs to be tough. I think they need to figure out how to overcome adversity in-game, midweek, mid-month. And I think we need someone that has a steady pulse with a steady hand. And I personally think Caleb is talented enough where you don't need some sort of coordinator to come in and turn him into some kind of Jedi. I think you just need to give him an opportunity to make some plays. Try and play some football where you're actually winning a game for once and not have him behind by 10 points all the time. There's another product of that, of why does Caleb do this? Why does he take this sack? Well, we're down by 10 points on the regular throughout this NFL season. And I think Mike Vrabel just makes a ton of sense for the Chicago Bears. And my final thought on this before we get out of here is, Bears fans, I'm telling you, I understand that you want the Bears to be good. I'm worried, though, that a lot of Bears fans want the Bears to look a certain way. Does it really matter unless the Bears just win? And for me, I just want I just want what's unsexy. I'm just going to say it. I want unsexy. Don't need to wow me here. I don't need to score 40 points to win. I want to have the type of team that can score 40 points to win, and if it ever comes to that. And I get it. Mike Vrabel doesn't get you super excited, right? Me all off season, I guarantee you it's coming. I'm going to talk to you about left guard, center, and right guard. There's going to be things of, should we take the Boise State running back Ashton Genty in the first round? No, we shouldn't. I know it's exciting to talk about offense and offensive players. I get it. It what drives the sport. But I'm just telling you, this is what I think the Chicago Bears need right now. They need a steady dose of just boring, unsexy, solid, hand in the dirt, grind it out type of football. And they need that grinded out type of coach. I think Pete Carroll and Mike Vrabel get that job done. And I'm not saying Ben Johnson can't, but I'm just skeptical. He's never done it before. He had opportunities to interview for head coaching jobs last year and simply bailed on it and stayed with the Detroit Lions. What is his want? What is his passion to be a head coach? And is he simply taking the job in Chicago because his agent leveraged an opportunity for him to make $10+ million a year. I just want to know his heart is 100% in it, and I want to know how he's going to coach the defense and special teams and make us better. But for me right now, power rankings. Mike Vrabel, number 1. Pete Carroll, number 2. Ben Johnson, number 3. Brian Flores, we didn't talk a lot about him. He would be number 4. And then number 5, some of the unknowns or some of those aging stars. You're going to hear Rex Ryan interviewing for the New York Jets. You're going to hear names like John Gruden the next couple of weeks. It's going to be wild. But that's my power rankings list. I'm allowed to change my mind. I'm allowed to update it as things go on. If Ben Johnson, my third choice, gets hired as the Chicago Bears head coach, I am going to root for him, obviously, because I am a Chicago Bears fan, but I'm going to be skeptical. I gave Matt Eberflus the benefit of the doubt. Maybe there's something I don't know about what makes Matt Eberflus so special. Turns out we didn't need to look that deep. And that's why I feel like Mike Vrabel, Pete Carroll, proven winners. I think it's the opportunity of the lifetime for the Chicago Bears to get it done and get back on the winning track in 2025 and beyond. We got to get out of here. You've been listening to Sports Talk Chicago with Joey Christopoulos right here on WLS AM 890. I appreciate the time. I appreciate the listen. Follow me at Joey Sports Guy if you would like to. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday night, Chicago. I will be back next week. Until then, have a wonderful evening.
Injured in an accident? That's no game. But you can bet those insurance companies are going to play dirty to keep that cash from you. What you need is a most valuable player on your team. MVP Injury Law has been bringing home the gold for their clients for over 30 years. No win, no fee. MVPinjurylaw.com. We'll get you the gold.
312-883-9500 MVP.
MVPinjurylaw.com. We'll get you the gold.